Hello there, it's Juliana Michaels and happy holidays. Today I have a very special project that I wanted to share with you, and as you can see, it's Christmas themed, and this is my Christmas journal that I created. This was greatly inspired by the Halloween Grunge Journal that I created back in October, and inspired by the super talented Louisa Heinzel. And that journal inspired this journal, and she inspired this journal as well. So I wanted to create my own version of a Christmas themed grunge journal. And this is kind of what I came up with. So the construction is very much the same as my Halloween journal, as far as how I put everything together. And as far as this video goes, I'm really just going to be more of a walkthrough and explaining, kind of what I did and how I made components of the journal. And if you do have questions about anything in particular, please feel free to reach out and ask. You can leave the questions in the comments below. And as far as any of the supplies I've used, I'll have those linked in the description box as well. I'll also have a blog post with photos so that you can look at things a little bit more in detail that way. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get into it. So this is the cover, and I created this to be able to stand up and be on display. So as you can see, it doesn't look like much from that angle, but this is what you would see when it's sitting upright on the shelf. So that's the cover. And then as I turn it, this is the spine. And this is just covered with some pattern paper that I trimmed and cut to create the spine. And then just a simple piece of pattern paper on the back. I was kind of running out of, I don't know about running out of ideas, but I spent most of my effort on the cover and the inside and didn't really worry too much about the back of it, since I think it's mostly going to be displayed with this visible. So and I also just felt like when looking through it, it's already hard enough to flip open and look through because it's so big. As you can see, it's ginormous. So yeah, so okay, so let's go on to the cover here. Basically it's a piece of chipboard covered with some pattern paper. These are just paper straws that I inked with a little vintage photo and coated them, painted them with glossy accents, and then sprinkled them with a glitter duster with some rock candy glitter. And this is some garland that was from a previous Tim Holtz Christmas release. These are just some chipboard stars. This window is from baseboard layers the baseboard set this year, and the window Transparency came in that set as well. I absolutely love these little toy soldiers, so I bought a couple packs of these figurines this year because I have been using them for all kinds of things. So these are just painted with distress paint, and then I added some walnut stain distress crayon to give them a little aging, just to make them look a little more grungy. And the tree is one of the woodlots or woodland trees. I'm not sure which set it came out of, but I kind of just followed some of the tutorials that are out there where I put gesso on the tips and then sprayed it and let it dry, and then I added the regular opaque grit paste and then sprayed that with a little bit of the rock candy glitter just to add a little sparkle. And the biggest tip to keep that from bleeding through is really trying to let that ink when you spray the tree dry, and that sees to limit the bleeding the most. The little baubles are just from, I don't know what those were called, but again, those were from a previous release, but they're just kind of like half pearls, so you could use, there's lots of different options out there that are similar to this if you don't have these. This is just one of the metal stars that I added some foundry wax to and then kind of just overheated, and just to kind of give it a grungy finish. This is just a little piece of ephemera that I added on. And then down here at the bottom, these are just some of the baseboard trims, and there's a chipboard piece here that I distressed and added some little brads to the corners. And this again is mounted onto a couple of baseboard trims that I layered together. So there's two of them glued together. And then these are some of this piece here and that piece there are both just some of the like thin strips that come in like the Halloween pack, just to give this a little more depth so that I could fit everything. Because when I first started putting it together, I did not have that on there, those extra, because they're about a 1/4 inch more, and I didn't have that on there, so things were not fitting. So like with the tree, I had to cut off like a big chunk of the backside of it, and then I actually even cut off some of the backside of the base of it so that it would fit on this little shelf here. So and then the other thing that I did is I made the window a shaker. So I filled the inside of it with a mix of like sequins and mica flakes, just for something kind of fun and shimmery in there. And then as far as the snow that's on everything, I added a combination of grit paste and the Snowfall grit paste. And while the Snowfall grit paste was wet, I added a little bit more rock candy glitter, just sprayed that on there with the glitter duster. I also added some of the Snowfall grit paste to the corners of the windows. And when things were dry, then I added a little bit of glossy accents and sprinkled on some of the mica flakes just to add a little more snowy interest to things. So there is the cover. Now to flip onto the inside, I used duck cloth to create the pages, and I just cut a piece of it and then kind of made it so that it would like fold in half to be like a signature. And there are how many of them did I end up doing? 1, 2, 3, 4 of those in here, and each one of those is probably around about 10 inches in width, and then just about 7 3/4 inches in height. I would cut them a little bit larger than that, and if you're going to use duck cloth, and because I then just pulled the threads to get and kind of frayed the edges, and then after I did that, then I sprayed them with water and got them really wet with water, and then to give them the color, I sprayed them mostly with old paper distress stain and just a tiny bit of vintage photo. And then I actually threw them in my dryer to dry them, and that worked really well. I mean, they don't need to go in there for very long. I mean, just a few minutes and they were dry. But that was just kind of an easy way to speed up the drying process instead of trying to let them sit and air dry or drying them with a heat tool, which would have taken forever. So then I made 4 of those, and then I also cut another longer strip that is about 11 inches by, let's see, measure here, by 5 to use as kind of what holds everything together. So you have the two back sides, which are really like double thick chipboard that was cut to 5 by 7 inches. And then that long narrow strip was, is attached to those. And then these are sewn in onto that back, that long piece in the back. So I would recommend definitely kind of creating what you're going to put on each page, and then kind of once you know how thick it is going to be, then you can make the spine and the and how long this needs to be, and then sew these in before you glue your stuff on them, because I did it the other way around and it was a little bit of a challenge to get the sewing machine in there. So live and learn. I forgot that when I did it the first time. So now I'm just gonna flip through the pages here and just kind of show you some of the things I did throughout to decorate. Most of the ephemera and stuff in here is from Tim Holtz. There are a few pieces here and there that are from 49 and Market. Their Christmas release this year just had some neat ephemera, so I purchased one of their ephemera packs and loved, because it had like tickets and stuff in there, and I just absolutely loved how it fit in with what I have here from Tim Holtz. So like on the baseboard frames here, some of these I added some of the Snowfall Grit Paste, and on the die cut, these die cuts, these like most of like the floral looking ones, so like the holly here and the poinsettias, I inked those up with some clear embossing ink and then applied frosted crystal embossing powder to them just to give them a little bit of texture and shine. And then, just did some distressing and inking with some walnut stain, distress ink on the edges of the ephemera. There's some stamping here, and some of the little stamp pieces are just like scraps I had from when I was making cards and had those left over, and just, tucked them in here or there where I could find a place for them. I also had some of the label stickers still left from a couple years ago, so I added those in here and there. And also there's some die cuts and the frames, the stitched frames that I've added in, and then of course the paper dolls, and then I splattered with just white acrylic paint to create the snow. And I'm looking at this now and I forgot to add my snow on this one, so I'll have to do that later. So all right, so I'm just gonna flip onto the next page here, and again, just more of the paper dolls and the ephemera. These are a couple little where I made like a little pocket here with the die cuts, and then just put these little tags or tickets that can fit in there. And to do this, I just kind of attached everything down below here, and so that all opens up and you can fit that in. And here and there I've used some like double-sided foam tape to help pop things up. On the background here, I used a stencil with some embossing ink and then heat embossed it with gold embossing powder, and then layered the die cut on there. This is just, got some different ephemera, a stamped image, and one of the chip quotes, and some little brads. There is one of the stitched frames there behind this, and then the tree from, I can't think of what that die is, but the tree, called, but it's the, it was a Christmas tree with all the different layers from this year, and I'll have it linked down below as I make up my supply list. I'll make sure to look up exactly what everything's called. And then on this page, this one I thought was just kind of fun. I had these little magnets from 49 and Market forever. And so I decided to finally use them. And so I made a little removable shaker tag. So I used the bold gradings die and cut out the Merry and Bright, and then put a transparency behind that and used some foam to pop up and add a little space in there, and then I could fill it with some sequins. And then, you know, just added the, this is some of the washi tape from a year or two ago, and just to put that around the edge, just to cover up kind of the seam, because it's like two pieces of paper and you could kind of see the foam tape. So that's just a way to cover that up and add a little bow there. This made a little pocket behind my little paper dolls there, and then added this little wreath, and just added another little piece of ephemera back here. And then behind, the little magnet is like inside the layers of the tag, and then it's behind this paper here, and then that just covers up. But when you lift it up, you have that. So yeah. And now on this page here, I've used a die called, I think it's called Postbox by Elizabeth Craft Designs, and it just came out recently, and when I saw it, I just had to have it. We had a trip where we went to England this past year, and I was just kind of fascinated with their post boxes. And so yeah, and then I wanted to include it in here for sure. So this has all these different layers, and then I just inked some cardstock with embossing ink, and then heat embossed it with lumberjack plaid embossing glaze. And I think I did a couple of layers to get it just so it'd be really nice and thick and shiny. And then I rubbed over it with a walnut stain distress crayon just to age it up a little bit, and yeah, and then added it to the page. And this is folded over on this side. There's actually, like, it sticks out a little farther, and it's meant to go like in a ring binder, but I kind of did this to tuck it in, and then I could use it as a flip up page here. So, and then I just added some die cuts this one's got a little bit of the Snowfall Grit paste, and this has got some red glitter pops of color, and then, you know, paper doll and some tickets. And then that opens up, and then there's just some more ephemera in here, and left that open so I could kind of stick that little tag down in there, and then added some different papers and ephemera. So this embossing folder here just had some cool like Santa postal images on it, and I thought that was fun to add in here. So I took a piece of black craft stock and embossed it with the embossing folder, and then sanded it, and just so that kind of revealed that design and just kind of gives it a cool vintage flair as well. Now on to this next page, and as you can see, as it gets in here, this page gets harder and harder to open. This 25 and the Noel, I was so excited. I found on eBay I think it's called Gothic Noel, and it's a Sizzix die that Tim did years ago that's been retired, and it's a Biggs die, so it will cut through chipboard and all kinds of thick things. But so I cut it from some chipboard and some gold glitter stock and added it in here. And then you know, there's some more of the different layers. There's this little quote, I cannot remember what these are called, but I had some in my stash, and so I added that in here. I created a little pocket with the some of these little pieces, and just added some paper to the back side of them. And then on the edges here, I added some crackle paint. So yeah, so while this was wet, then I spritzed it with the, I think maybe it's called Garland glitter. and then let that crackle paint dry. And then once it was dry, then I added some latte alcohol ink, and just kind of like the little vintage flair it gave it. And then of course added some paint splatters first to make it look like snow, and then stitched on a little ribbon. And this was like silver beforehand, so I added, to give that the kind of gold color, I used the latte alcohol ink and some gold mixative, and that seemed to work really nicely to transition that into something that was a little more gold colored. So, and that's also what I did on the brads here to give them, because these weren't all gold. I didn't have enough gold colored ones, and I wanted them to be a little more distressed, so that's kind of what I did with those as well. And on this page, got another one of the frames where I've added the snowfall grit paste and some of the die cuts, paper dolls, and more ephemera. Added in some little stickers here and there where I could as well. And this is more of the die cuts and layers. And then this is one of the portraits. And I just kind of went through what I still had left of these and found one where she still had, like, one that had a hat on. So I kind of fit the winter theme and, you know, put her into one of these frames and then layered everything around her there. And here, I had a card recently that I shared where I did the cracked glass, and this was one of the, this might have been the one that I filmed for the video, and because a lot of times I make my projects for Tim or for me even, or just make it once and then I remake it to do a video. And so, you know, since I had that still laying around, I thought it would be kind of fun to like figure out a way to get it in here. So it made it to this page. And again, just, you know, more layers of paper dolls and the quote chips and tickets and ephemera and die cuts, and added some of the snow fall grit paste on these die cuts here, and then again spritz that with the glitter duster for the rock candy. Here's another one of the portraits that I found that kind of had that look like he was dressed for winter, and made him into a little pocket with another one of these little tags. And then just, you know, layered different pieces. I had some stamped images left over. And so now onto this page. This is kind of a tag, but I adhered it permanently and added in just some more of the ephemera. On the background here of this piece and that piece, I used the crackle paste through a stencil and then sprinkled it with embossing glaze and powder, and I used lumberjack plaid and peeled paint and a little bit of pumice stone, and then let that dry. And then once it was dry, then I heat set it with my embossing gun. And that's just I don't know, I just love that effect. Stacy Hutchison is, I think, one of the first people that shared doing that, and I just love the texture and interest that it gives to things. So I wanted to incorporate a little bit of that in here. Let's see, so this little piece here and here, when I had embossed that black craft stock with that embossing folder. Let's see, this is the embossing folder. I can see it here. So, you know, it's got all these cool Santa postmark kind of things on there. But when I did it a couple times just to have some extra ones, and so I cut one of them out, this one here, and then I used that on my page here and stuck it, cut it in half and put part of it over here and part of it over there. All right, we're getting there. So added a little charm here. These little snowflakes were from a while back, but I have a bunch of them, and I finally was like, oh, I'll use one here. And added a little star on top of the tree, a snowfall grip paste around the frame, and added some little stamp tickets. And on the background here of this paper, I used some black texture paste. There's a new one that came out this year, like Halloween. And while it was still wet, I sprayed it with the Garland glitter duster, and I love how that turned out. Like you got to do it pretty quickly because that paste dries pretty quick. But I love the little bit of shimmer that it added to the black. It just made it very festive to me. And then made this so that there's a little opening here where you can slide this little tag down in there. And some snowfall grip paste and rock candy glitter on the die cuts there. All right, so now on to the last page here. And as I was going through this, at some point, I was like, I've got to make a wreath. I love wreaths, and I don't know, just something about them I just absolutely love. And so I made one with some die cuts here, and then added some rock candy, or the snowfall grit paste, and then some rock candy glitter just to create the little bit of snow look on there, and then layered that onto a frame, and then the little paper dolls. And this Merry Sentiment die is actually from scrapbook.com, and I'd had that in my little like scrap pile, and I just picked it up and thought it would just be perfect on there. So and then I created a little window or a pocket behind the frame and put these just made a little tag piece here, and just did a couple of die cuts and a tag, and put those on there, and added another one of the little snowflake charms. And the charm here, this one was like the other metal that I did, where I added the latte alcohol ink and the gold mixative to give it a gold look instead of the silver that it comes in. Here's a little bit of some washi tape that I threw in there. And then finally on this last page, again, I forgot the snow splatters, but I'll get those added in. But a lot of the same things here, with the little label sticker and paper dolls and die cuts and the little frame, bit of washi tape, and this little label piece. And then the December DEC are die cuts from the specimen die set, and I had seen Emma Williams do that, and I just thought it was super cute, so I decided I would give that a little try and throw that in here on one of the pages. So so that's it. Yeah. One of the, I guess, like the one thing when I kept in mind is when I made the pages, I made the facing pages kind of together, and I would try to use some similar pattern papers. So like this background paper here, the part that I cut off and didn't use, I like saved that and used that little strip over here. And then I had some of this houndstooth paper. These were from was it last year? Tim did like some kind of like cards where they were just already like pre-cut, and the corners were rounded, and they had different patterns on the front and back. And I must have bought like 2 packs of those because I have a ton of them still, and I've used a ton of them already. So I pulled some with that black houndstooth pattern and just tried to like make things coordinate. So, the same thing here where I've got the houndstooth paper here and then some there. and kind of stuck with the black, and then this black paper and that black paper and this green and that green, this paper and that paper. So on each one of these, as you look through, you'll see that I kind of like use the papers on one and then like the scraps on the other and vice versa, so that they would help kind of make them coordinate from one page to the next. So anyway, so there is a look at my Christmas grunge journal, and I hope you enjoyed this little flip through. And like I said earlier at the beginning, if you have any questions about any of it and how it was made, or any of the techniques or anything that I used throughout, just let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you. And I wish each and every one of you a very, very Merry Christmas and happy holidays. And until next time, stay crafty, my friend. Thanks so much for watching. I'm so grateful for you. I was wondering if you could do me a quick favor and subscribe to my channel, or leave me a thumbs up or a comment. If you're feeling extra generous, I'd love for you to share about my channel with your friends. All of these things help out us YouTubers so much, and it would mean so much to me to have your support.